Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, April 25th of 23. Don Schwenker, Lynn Flagle, myself, Mike Stanich are your county supervisors. Have Lisa and Bjorn here. And Lou Ann is in the background taking care of us. And first on our agenda, Mary is here from the newspaper. And first on our agenda today is Mike Clausing, our Jackson County Assistant Engineer. Good morning.
Good morning. The first thing I have is a driveway permit for Patrick Diamond. It's in Fairfield Township, section 24. The residential entrance on Iron Bridge Road. It meets the site distance requirements. We'd ask the board to approve that.
So moved.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve the residential entrance permit for Patrick Simon as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Next, I have a roadway maintenance agreement with Iowa DOT, and this is for the road through Macoka Cave State Park. We plow the snow off that in the winter time, and they reimburse us or pay us so much per lane mile. The agreement's for $2,205. It's an annual agreement that we do with them.
Is that the same as it was prior years or
They raised it last year, the year before, they raised it, but this is the same as last year's
percentages?
price.
And I suspect that your department is happy with that or okay with it.
Yeah, and we have to go through there to get to the
Right.
roads on both sides, so it's not a big issue.
Okay.
Second that.
A motion and a second to approve the DOT maintenance agreement as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Okay, and Todd's out with the motor patrol guys and the lead men out on Dark Hollow Road. They're testing out our new retriever out there. He's showing them how to use it. He brought one of his operators from Clinton County up to help discuss how he runs it. So it seems to be working pretty good for when I was out there for a little bit,
Cool. Interesting.
getting training on that, I guess. today.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Well, that's good.
he should be in the office after a little while here, but
Well, that's progress and we appreciate that and hope that goes okay with the guys and everybody think it's a good idea and get on board, yeah.
get rid of the edge there and get better crown on the road.
Yeah.
You know, the guy's been working on the dust control areas to get crown in some of those ahead of time. And those are, they've been doing a pretty good job on them. You can see the crown in them now, so.
I was a passerby and I noticed one day where were really rooting it up and they did a nice job with it. Yeah, it takes some packing yet, I think, the way it looks, but yeah.
Right.
Some of them on the dust control.
What a difference.
Car traffic, I think, or nice rain. With some car traffic.
Right. We did get our rollers in last week. So.
And how are they doing? I heard some grumbling.
Well, they're not new. But they'll work. They've got them ready to go and they've got them filled up with sand, so.
Will they need wheel bearings or something, or they just?
They're just wore.
Just look abused.
Yeah, some of the grease lines, there's a grease line for each set of wheels there, and some of those were broke. We had to fix those. Nothing major.
Side question but with the Mississippi being up as high as it is there anything the county has to do preventative or to keep a watch on over on the east side of Jackson County?
We do have one road that's got water over it. We close that. It's a dead end road. It goes back to Gordon Reed's property. And he's puts up with us every time it floods, but it's just a dead end road off of the north end of the Preston Highway. And just a little bit to the west, there's a little stuff road there. Evergreen Avenue and 609th down by Sebula will probably go underwater and we'll block those off. Other than that, and maybe at Green Island, we're not sure yet.
We did block some of them off the last time, 2001, 2000, whatever the last one was, but the big one we had, and at that time we had a group from FEMA come. And we went around the county looking at damage that we had, then be it extra time that the county had repairing, and I think we got some funds for that. So we wanna probably make sure that we keep track of our time on areas that were damaged or.
Right now, we don't anticipate anything that would qualify for FEMA.
The governor did make a,
Yeah, I seen we were part of that
I saw
proclamation.
They still sandbagging down in Sebula.
They better be
I see
done,
that.
I think.
Yeah.
They better be
I seen a
ready.
thing on
Right.
Facebook, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're done.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't travel down to Green Island, I was down to Preston last night, but it's close to the track, south of town,
It
Bellevue,
is,
yeah, it's
yeah.
close.
I was over there yesterday, it's,
Yeah. So, I mean, they're expecting almost another 2 feet yet, but,
right,
yeah, okay.
Mike, I have a question. Can you fill me in on, so like if we're ditching a ditch and there's. So you come to a driveway, whatever, we're ditching, there's no culvert in this driveway, do we have a? Policy that we do that they have to put a culvert in, or do we just let it back up there, or?
Usually if there isn't a culvert there, it's usually on top of it where it drains both ways, so I think they try to make it work that way. But I'm sure there's probably some out there that should have culverts, or the culvert's so buried that we don't know where it's at. I think the guys would go in and replace that.
So would that be
Keep our drainage.
on us to replace that then?
I guess what you were talking about, that, the culvert thing, I seen in the claims, there was a rather large, or not rather large, but a claim for on 362nd. Right, is that the Pembroke Highway, was there a culvert repair there somewhere that I missed?
Oh, with some concrete?
That must have been.
Yeah, there was a hole on the shoulder there that they fixed with, they poured some slurry into it.
Is that something we looked at a couple of years ago? We're talking about the same place, maybe?
This is a different spot.
Okay,
Yeah, this was towards the north end of the road. We had over that triple box culvert, it's behind the cable guardrail, it slid,
okay.
and we fixed that.
I see there's a lot of rock all to that location. the way I love it. Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. Good luck. With that new machine. Okay, are there any visitors or citizens online or present? I don't see any. That would like to. Okay, well, we can certainly accommodate. So if nobody else has anything to approach the board for, we will move on to, well. Lisa?
I can do it. This morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2023 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to approve the publication of the April 18th board proceedings as written. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants in the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $774,840.31.
second,
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented for $774,840.31. With just a note that one of our bond payments was included in that. Amounting to about half of that, so. We're underway with that, and I see that the wall being sent this morning, and we're still in progress. So, all those in favor of the claims, say aye.
aye,
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve invoices for $17,104.88 to Midwest Construction Consultants, Inc. $166,158.80 to Giesler Brothers, $23,750 to Rock River Electric, $140,000 to Tri-State Porta Potty, Inc. for a total of $207,153.68. Of this total, $174,158.80 will be paid from the American Rescue Funds and authorize the chair signature on the project cost recap for the Law Enforcement Center for the month ending March 31st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the invoices as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve invoices for $6,022.97 to Midwest Construction Consultants, Inc., $18,477.50 to Peak Construction, $24,766.50 to Hometown Plumbing and Heating, for a total cost of $49,266.97.
All right.
And authorize the chair signature on the project cost recap for the Jackson County Fair and ISU 4-H Outreach Center for the month ending March 31st, 2023.
So for second.
A motion second to approve the invoices as presented to the 4-H outreach tender for the month ending March 31st. Again, progress is underway, so with the paying of bills, we hope that progress continues, so.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried.
That's all that I have for the board today.
Okay, thank you. Luann, are you available? Is there somebody on their way?
I don't see you yet.
I don't see him either. Good morning.
Good morning. All I have for you this week is the calendar. At 11:30 this morning is the workforce lunch and learn. I think they do quarterly. It's talking about the labor market information today. That's by Zoom for Don. Tomorrow, April 26th, at 9 a.m. is an IRS meeting in Dubuque or by Zoom for NIN. And at 7 p.m. is a Jackson County EMS Association meeting in Andrew for Mike or NIN, the Andrew Fire Station. Thursday, April 27th at noon is a Bellevue Leadership Committee meeting by Zoom for Mike. On Friday at 7 a.m. is a Macocata Leadership meeting by Zoom for Don. At 11 o'clock is tentatively an Isaac's legislative update meeting by Zoom for Mike. Monday, May 1st at 11:30, there's a Macocata River Watershed Management Authority lunch with Don, and I think that's going to be at the Mexican restaurant. Right. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, May 2nd at 9 a.m. And that afternoon at 3 o'clock, I tentatively have a green space redevelopment meeting at the Macocata Library or by Zoom for any of you that want to go to that.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we will go back to our regular scheduled agenda, and we have Beth here from the Jackson County Treasurer's Office.
Morning.
Or do we have a visitor here that would like to address the board?
Yeah, this is just Albert Longley, he's the state jail inspector. So I'd stop over and say hi, and if you guys have any questions for him.
Oh, come on up. Let's, we've heard about you in the last couple of years, Delbert. You know, I'd like to put a name to a face, but I'm like.
Good to
Yeah,
meet you,
nice to
gentlemen.
meet
Good to meet you. See you again.
Yeah. No, so it's annual. This is our time frame, or what do we?
It is, actually, it was last month, and just because of some logistical issues, we had it put off till this month, but as I was telling Andrew, we really didn't talk about a whole lot this time. You're addressing your problems. They're still there, of course, but you're addressing them. And why beat a dead horse?
Yeah,
You
well,
know, we're looking forward to getting a new facility up and running for you guys.
did you get to visit both then, or just the one?
Just one day, so.
There's not much to see. I come past the other one this morning, but they are working at it, so we appreciate that you've seen that we have been trying to make progress, and
Absolutely.
it's an uphill battle, as you well know how this goes.
Been there, done that.
Bond issues and such are always a situation, and you try to address it and move forward, and hopefully you see that we're doing that and appreciate your
And
consideration.
we certainly do, and I appreciate you guys moving forward with it.
Yeah.
It's much needed, and it'll serve you well, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
we appreciate
but
it.
thank you for doing that.
Yep.
No problem.
I
Any
think,
any questions for me on anything that you?
No,
no, I don't think so. I mean, I guess, do you also like inspect the new one as it goes, or just when it's finished and sign off of it?
Pretty much as it's, when it's
As
finished.
yeah.
What I would suggest that we do when you get within probably 3 months of completion. I'll just come in and do a courtesy walkthrough, and if there's something that I see that is egregious enough that needs to be addressed, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And tell you can get that accomplished, beforehand. Once the final punch list is done, I will do a complete walkthrough inspection. I will check doors, I'll check water, I'll check lighting, everything.
You won't spend the night though, I mean.
I don't. I've never had to yet. I don't want to start.
so do you issue like a certificate on the new jail before we can start using it, or?
I will give you a letter of authorization to use.
Okay.
Yes. And typically what we'll do is, I will just give you a verbal with, and follow that up with a quick email saying you're good to go. Then I follow that up with a formal letter.
Okay.
From the state that says, yes, you are good to go.
Good enough,
Yes,
good enough. Appreciate it.
not a problem. Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate
And ladies.
Appreciate taking the time to come over and see us. You put a name with a face and, we've read several letters from you in the past.
Yes. Well, this letter will be pretty short.
Thanks, Silver.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Anna.
it. Yes. Hi.
So Beth, you're next on our agenda. I apologize for shoving you back there. Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm here today because you have a resolution for abatement of mobile homes. The way this works is, the mobile home park owners have reached out to me saying that there are mobile homes on the tax roll that are not actually in the park. So we get verification from them that they've been removed or destroyed, and then ask for those taxes to be abated. The way that it's supposed to work is anytime a title transfer happens, then we know for a mobile home, then we know to ask questions about that particular mobile home. What's happening with it? Is it moving out of the county? Or is it staying there and someone new is just taking ownership of it? The title is what tells us what's happening. That doesn't always happen with the owners. So they'll either just up and leave and it's abandoned and it still sits there, or they'll remove it and not tell anybody or do anything with the title. And that's in this case what has happened. So the mobile home is no longer there. We have no way of knowing that because nothing ever happened with the title. So it still continues to be on the tax roll for years and years, and it becomes a county held tax sale certificate because those generally don't get bought on tax sale because they're mobile homes. So it becomes county held and then it just sits there until we get word that is no longer there. So that's what's happened with these. So this is kind of just an effort to clean up our books and get these off of the tax roll because they should not have been there and should not be there going forward either.
So are these like all in the same area or?
So I can tell you the locations. Now, the last one is a little bit different. because
Yeah,
it's
I've seen
not a
that.
Park,
Seen
it
that.
is a building on leased land, which means that the Caleb B one was located in Lamont, the city of Lamont.
Mhm.
And it is no longer there. The assessors notified me that it's no longer there because they're the ones who do the building on leased land assessments. But we don't know when it was removed because it's a mobile home. We just know that it's no longer there, so going forward, the assessor won't be taxing it, but we still have these 3 tax years that are uncollected and. They won't go to tax sale because building on leased land parcels don't ever go to tax sale. So they just essentially sit out there uncollected.
So I mean, just looking at this, and I'm looking back to 2010, basically,
Mhm.
it just. Makes sense to me, or somehow I think that there should be a better chain. To say,
Right,
you know,
so-
other than me driving by, I could have drove by that one and tell you it wasn't there in the last couple of years, but, you know.
Well,
other
the
than-
building on leased lands are a little different than the mobile home taxes.
Right.
Cause the assessors have a good.
So if they
idea
don't
on those.
renew in 2010, doesn't that draw a red flag and somebody say, well, we need to have a tax sale here in a couple of years or 2 years or?
Well, they do go to tax sale and nobody purchases them. So then they become county held. So what has happened in the past and what's happening going forward is a little bit different. In the past, I haven't been notified or had good communication with the mobile home park owners on what's happening in their park. So we were never notified by the park owner if something was removed or destroyed. We were never given a lot list showing what is parked in their lot every May, which is also required. That wasn't happening. But since those parks are now sold and under new ownership, the new owners have reached out to me. We've got good communication. They've been providing me now with lot lists, showing whose mobile home is parked in their lots. And if we have a difference in our list, then we can investigate that. So going forward, we shouldn't be in this position, because we have that good communication set up now. That was not established before, obviously.
So,
Um,
just so I get this right, these are taxes that they owe because they didn't tell us there's no more trailer. Or
well,
they just
that's
left, or
the thing
it's-
is, do they really owe it because they weren't living there and the mobile home wasn't there? And we don't know specifically when it was removed
Right.
either, because we were never notified of that. So were we taxing them because we didn't know? Yes. But should we have been because it wasn't there? You know, what happens is we have the tax roll, they have an active title in Jackson County, this is where it was parked at, they didn't notify us of anything that has changed,
Right.
so we tax them. We send out a statement, probably it gets returned to us because they didn't receive the statement, or if it gets forwarded, they don't care about it because they don't believe that they owe these taxes, so they just let it go. And then we're in this situation.
Okay.
So there, the Maquoketa to MHP LLC is the new owners of the Kenmore mobile home parks, which used to be called Woodland East, which is Platt Street, Woodland North, which is
Pershing.
Pershing, but there's 2 there. There's
Yeah.
Timber City. Yeah, Timber City and Woodland North is what they were called as parks when he owned them. Maquoketa to MHP purchased those. And when they purchased them, the mobile home parks, these mobile homes were not there. So they can't tell me when they were removed. They just know that they're not there and they weren't there when they purchased the mobile home. So when that sale went down, it should have been noticed at that point, but it wasn't. And then they have renamed those 3 parks. Now Prairie Creek is the Platt Street one, and that's where 2, that's where 2 of them. So the Robert Lee Morris, the second is at the 1205 East Platt Street, which is now Prairie Creek. The Matthew Scott Morris is there as well. And then this Chantel Marie Cundy was in the Timber City Mobile Home Park, which is now called Pershing Estates and Pershing Estates. So that's where that one was located. And this Kevin and Ida Matison was also at the 1205 East Platt Street location. And
Yeah, I just by the way the process works, it just seems like the mobile home park owners should have some kind of regulation to say, you know, they're moved out,
Yeah, and
or
it
another
is,
one's moved in. or
I looked it up,
something.
it is in code for them to provide me with a list by May first every year,
Or.
right? Or there's nobody to
What's
enforce
the pen,
anything.
yeah, what's the penalty and
Right,
what's
and
the?
that's why it hadn't been
Penalty is
happening.
some-
I would say they, yeah, they assume the
Yeah, but
taxes.
I don't
for
know,
properties
I'm
that
10
are
years
no
old.
longer there.
you know,
I just know,
Yeah, but they don't, the park owners don't really have to take the taxes over because the ones who owe it are the ones who own the mobile home.
Right.
So it doesn't fall back on them.
I just know at some point there was quite a few trailers removed when Kennymore was trying to sell those lots.
Yeah, and there's also some people that, you know, say that we call them up because they have taxes due and they say we don't, or they contact us and say, we don't owe these because we sold that mobile home to the park owner back 5 years ago. Well, if the mobile home park owner doesn't transfer the title into his name, then we have no way of knowing that that transfer happened.
Right.
And they've already signed the title over. So unless they keep a bill of sale or some record of it as owners and don't check up on it actually getting transferred, they're still being taxed. So, and if they're receiving the statement, then they can contact us. But if they don't get the statement, they don't know they're being taxed. That's where it lies. So.
Okay, so I still think there should be a better way, a better system here, but they.
There do needs to
You
be some
need to-
onus on the individual or,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, right, going forward, like I said, Birds is great. That's the Bellevue Mobile Home Park. Todd Bird is the owner. He's been providing me with a list. He lets me know every time something gets removed and what's happening with it and make sure that they get a junking certificate and the title is no longer active. So he's really good. He owns Dubuque Mobile Home, so he's well versed on what's supposed to go on. That one we don't have a problem with, and now Macokota MHP is following suit with that. They're doing the same thing. They're providing us with lists. We're checking our records against theirs to make sure what they show is actually what we show. So like I said, this is an effort to clean up what's no longer good.
There's a pretty good chance.
And change it in the
So is this gonna go on for their income tax? or-
This is gonna
This
be.
is
up
just
here.
gonna go
Go
away.
away.
So, right, the thing is, we sent them tax statements, we taxed them. But the mobile home wasn't there or may not have been there from 2014, 9, 10, 17. And so they just became, what happens is they become county held tax sale certificates after they've gone to tax sale for 2 years and they don't get purchased. And then they just sit there being taxed with no payment.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the mobile home abatement request as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. You have originals there?
Lisa has the resolution you can sign and then she'll get.
So is there nothing we can put on that to make? Somebody,
To make somebody pay?
yeah, accountable.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
if this. Macokota, whatever it is, decides,
the Macokota MHP.
MHP decides, okay, they're not gonna give you that information and we're in the same boat again.
Where they're not paying.
Yeah,
I mean, it's on the person who owns the mobile home then, because they still have an active title. But if the mobile home is not in our county and it's gone,
but can't we make them?
there's no
prove that?
judgment. There's no judgment or any lien or anything to put anything on.
My guess is you're gonna spend good money to try to get bad money.
Yeah, they just don't have any incentive to pay us at that point.
Well, there's no value.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so
I mean, if you look at the years of these mobile homes, a 65, a 74, a 61, an 81, I think we can assume that they were just destroyed there. They're not in another county, they weren't moved to another state, they were just destroyed and nobody did anything.
they're probably
to tell
junk, they're
us
probably
about
out
it.
here at the.
The dumper or something, yeah. And in order to do that rightfully, they should get a junk certificate, they just don't. And then we don't,
There just has to be a better way for us to follow up with it, so we can get them off the records before.
Before we
Yeah.
keep taxing them on something that's not sitting there, nobody's living in it. Now, if they abandon it, that's a different process. It's a mobile home.
The other
still
side of it is
there.
if another one pulls in there is in that spot, now then the mobile home guy should
Right.
address
Yep.
it and let
And
us
they
know.
have been, they've been good now.
Yeah.
But this isn't.
Somebody should be kind of like.
This
I
is
don't
dealing
know.
with the
Previous.
previous, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Lori? We have Lori Rowland from our zoning administrator here today.
And
Good morning, Lori, Ruth.
Hi, the first order of business was to ask for a public hearing to be set on ordinance, proposed ordinance 316. Which would be granting a, is it 313? 313. Dyslexia, even when I talk. So that would be for the guys that bought the Welcome Center, the old Welcome Center there on, from the county on Highway 64.
Good.
And they are looking for a rezoning from C1 to A1. Their proposal is to have a single family dwelling, short-term rental, which falls as, is considered a single family dwelling, since it is a rental. So that is treated like any other rental. It's not treated like a commercial property or anything. So we're looking to go A1 with that, even though it would better fit under R1 due to the size of the lot. But since they're also planning to add 2 camper spaces, which would thus make it a campground. Also, kind of, sort of, they had to go under A1 for the fact that R1 does not have special exception use for a campground. So it will be a non-conforming lot that they're requesting to rezone to A1. The board, or excuse me, the zoning commission has recommended approval.
Okay, so, I mean, we've talked about this previously and I think we're on board with it as far as I know with the rest of the board members, but. So are we setting the public hearing then? Or are we approving ordinance 313?
We have to set the public hearing in order to approve the
Okay, that's not what I'm saying here. This is a proposed.
Ordinance.
Okay,
we want to set it, we want to set the date for the proposed ordinance, and we'd like to set it for May 16th at 10 a.m., please. That'll give us time to do the 10 and 20 public hearing notice.
pleasure of the board.
So moved.
We have motion and second to set the public hearing on May 16th at 10 a.m. for ordinance number 313 DHK as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Hey, last night we were feeling pretty good today. We had 8 public hearings at the Board of Adjustment meeting. And I can just kind of give you a synopsis. There was a gentleman up north of Bellevue looking for special exception use to rebuild vehicles and sell a couple of vehicles in an R1 district. He was looking for a special exception that was granted with conditions. There was another, there was a family in Leisure Lake looking for a variance for a front yard setback to build a new garage. The board granted that. Family up north of Bellevue looking to build a garage up off Highway 52. As close to just 12 feet of the front property line. That variance was granted. There was a special exception hearing, family north of Bellevue looking to do a home industry, a beauty salon inside of a shed that they're building now. We already granted them the shed permit for the fact that they were gonna build the shed no matter what, even if the special exception wasn't granted, but they granted that special exception just for her and to use that as a one chair shop. Clinton County Wind Energy, the Next Era Wind, the Board of Adjustment granted their special exception for their Met Tower. We'll be issuing that permit probably later today or tomorrow. For the tower after the fact, of course. And another gentleman was asking for a variance in Leisure Lake to build a garage. He was asked for 17-foot front setback and a 2-foot side setback. The board has tabled that, and we're gonna be doing field trips out there so they can kind of look at the site. That one was contested by a neighbor, and they just want to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row before they go any further. Michael Delaney had a special exception request to have a chemical fertilizer type operation along with his Pioneer Seed business, and that special exception for ag use was granted by the Board of Adjustment. And then north on Highway 52, there was a special exception granted to a setback. That was a request by me after there was an error made and we were correcting it. The property owners went through the right steps to get a zoning permit to rebuild, and there was some miscommunication, and we've rectified the problem.
Okay, will we get a little more information on what, who, and what transpired there, other than just the minutes? Will it say this in the minutes, or?
It would say it in a minute.
And
Also, we
we'll
should be
get
giving
them.
you guys, probably giving you disposition letters that we'll also send to the property owner.
So maybe Don has some questions.
Certainly. This was just in a nutshell.
Is there any penalty for people that come for special exception after the fact?
There is not, and we get a lot more than you realize. A lot. There's
Got a lot, what?
a lot of people that do things before they've ever had the appropriate permits. I just finished up with a couple in your neighborhood. I have one that's still pending in the floodplain. But we don't really have good penalties in place in our ordinance. So that's one thing we could probably talk about at some point, is maybe even seeing a fee change in our permitting processes.
So
I think
does the
I think there
code,
needs to be a significant penalty for coming after the fact.
so does the code come into play? Is there anything in the code that says that would be parameters and there's gotta be procedures other than us. We're not the only ones that are in this situation.
Right.
So there's either has to be other counties or something in the code that says these are the procedures and these are the penalties for it.
And that way, I can look at Iowa code, that way we can start there. But I do know other counties do have their own ordinances, just like I've told you guys before, it's hard to sometimes reach out to another county because they don't have the same ordinances we do. Everybody, I mean, 99 counties.
Right.
Well.
I
there's not even
agree,
that many
and
zoning.
infractions are all different also, they might be
Absolutely.
major infractions, they might be minor infractions.
Right,
I guess like Don, we had talked earlier, a little bit, so it seems like we get some information after the fact. I mean, you talk about field trips and you tabled one. I'll be honest, we like to take field trips too and see what's going on in these
Oh,
situations,
if you're more than welcome.
because it goes to your board
Yeah.
and then you bring it here for approval. We know
Um,
nothing about it until you bring it here for approval.
Actually, I'm not bringing this here for approval.
No,
Board of
But
Adjustment.
that's been how it's done in the
Okay.
past,
Well, like
right?
last,
So even with
That
your other ones, what basically kind of what they're asking, like maybe that whole packet that everybody gets. To the,
I guess there's a couple of
if
things
we
that
could,
we're
if
getting
we
ready
could
to
get that ahead of time, sure, because otherwise we kind of sit here and look like a deer in the headlights.
Sure.
Like last week,
About
you
what
brought
you're talking
preliminary subdivision for 2 lots or something. And we talked about it, we kind of approved it. That was the first I ever saw about it.
Schneider's,
Subdivision.
We did. I mean,
Okay,
Okay.
know a little bit ahead of time
Sure,
what's going on.
sure,
We certainly want to take your recommendations, I guess.
Sure.
You know.
okay, yeah, on the
But
commission,
we
yeah,
just like to know,
yeah,
one, it would give us a chance that if we wanted to even go and look at it
yeah,
ahead of time.
And to
Okay.
hear, I mean, to hear 8 special exceptions being approved, some before, some after, it's almost like, okay, what's the point of the?
oh, I'm just telling, I didn't even have to tell you this, but I was doing this.
I
as a
know, I
courtesy.
appreciate that, but then
Okay.
again, it's like, that's one of the rules that they're all just, there.
Yeah.
If we're always gonna get a special exception, what's the point?
And they don't, some of these were actually with conditions,
Okay. But I think for those that have to be filed after the fact, there needs to be significant and substantial on a penalty for that, because you can argue, are they circumventing the system because it's a lot easier to beg forgiveness than to ask permission? You know,
and,
whether it's a garage or a tower, or whatever,
right,
I really think that needs to be pursued, because a lot of times they're just taking advantage of a gray area.
right.
And I don't like that.
And I don't have a problem with that. I will look to you guys for guidance. I will reach out and look for other people, other counties and what their fee schedule is and what their penalty schedule is. Although I want to be consistent in it.
Absolutely.
I don't, he's my neighbor, he's a nice guy. I really don't want to be part of that.
No,
No, that
Okay.
shouldn't be. I think
Okay.
we're kind of looking more for, yeah, if it's after the fact. I mean, if it's our mess up, miscommunication, that's
That
a
was on
different
me.
story. That shouldn't be penalized to them.
I
But-
didn't know isn't an answer. You know,
Oh.
people, well, I didn't know I needed a special exception.
My dad said I didn't.
Yeah.
I talked to my uncle, he's a contractor. He said no.
Ignorance
Yeah.
is not an argument or a justification.
I mean, we certainly don't want to make it a hardship for anybody to get it, but they certainly know that they're adding on, if they're putting a building up, if they're doing something, they probably should investigate if they need a permit.
I agree.
I mean, if you're gonna hook a bathroom up, you better investigate.
Yeah.
You got someplace to go with it.
Yeah. Well, we had a guy just this past week. He had just found out he needed a zoning permit to add an addition to the rear of his house.
I don't doubt it a bit. I mean,
And-
people not aware of that,
but-
but you know, it's again, like Don said, ignorance of the law is no excuse to the fact,
Yeah.
but inquire about it then, I
Yeah.
guess, you know.
But he had been doing stuff for years without one, and when you come from a farm exempt status or, background, then all of a sudden it's like, I still live in the country. They're, they take it for granted, oh, I'm still in the country, I'm not in town, I don't have to do that. So, yeah, but and some of that is just educating our public better too. So,
And, you know, that might even be a little talk show for you at some point on KMA.
oh, I've done some of those already, so there's just another topic.
Or Ruth.
Yeah, Ruth, she's actually pretty good at that stuff. I have reached out to the center, which is that organization that helps local government when developing renewable energy policies for their county or city. So I've reached out to them, waiting for a call back from their Iowa rep to talk to her. I know Oleg and his counterpart talked to you last night. We're looking to set up a public meeting within the Board of Supervisors where they can come and talk about their proposed project that could happen here in our county. So, he was kind of open on his dates, wasn't he?
Yeah, he didn't. He kind of talking maybe in the next month or so.
Okay. So if we wanted to just kind of pick a date that where your calendar isn't totally booked in the next,
He was worried if any of you two would be busy in the fields.
yes.
I'm not listening.
I know, well, he didn't know, they're dealing with acquisition, for tower acquisition with land, and they've learned real fast, that the farmer's like, don't talk to me till the 1st of June, I'm in the field. So, or the end of May, so they're already learning that, the city boys are figuring that out. So to ask,
Reasonable?
so do you guys wanna go ahead and suggest a date that I could present to him?
I mean, how long a presentation or what are we talking here or?
I don't know how long their presentation is. Would you think 15 minutes probably?
I think. Yeah,
Or we could give him that time period.
I think it's more or less, this is kind of their first step of letting the public
So
Are they
what,
already in that land acquisition phase?
know.
They're talking to people. As a matter of fact, last night at one of our meetings, there was somebody that was on the call and says, yeah, I just want to make sure you guys knew that I'd be interested in being one of your landowners. So,
so why don't you get with Luann and, I mean, she knows our schedule, she has our schedule, she has our calendar and see if there's a time frame we can spare 15-20 minutes or get him in. It's probably something that sounds like sooner than later.
Yep.
That we should discuss anyway.
yeah, he had asked how we wanted to do it, and I told him, I said transparency was gonna be very important. And that it probably wasn't a good idea to do like they did in the past, and that we need to do it in an open meeting.
And where are you sitting? Are you still waiting to hear back from the people as far as establishing an ordinance for this?
Yeah, that was the lady at the center, one of the people, and right now there's lots of counties, several, probably dozen plus, that have wind ordinances. One of the issues I'm finding out is some of them are rewriting their ordinances now. And so it's like, how do you model somebody's?
Some are the persons we want to talk to because they know what they
Yeah.
missed out on.
Yeah, absolutely, and like Clinton County's redoing theirs.
I
And
think Delaware did theirs 3 times too. I'm not.
probably, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised,
I
so,
mean, just because they've already kind of gone through the loops of knowing, oh, we need to put this in.
yeah, or this isn't strong enough, or this is
Right.
too, yeah. And that's where we're gonna wanna input from you as well as community members. How restrict, there's ways to do this to where you can cripple them and not allow any here almost. You know, you can build buffers around your towns where you can't have anything within 2 miles. You know, for annexation purposes, you can build buffers around highways or so far from right of ways. But I don't think that we wanna, from what my understanding is, we don't wanna cripple our farmers either on other resources and other income sources. Which is what that would be taking away, it'd be taking away tax base as well as,
I think some of that we need to
Okay.
educate the public needs to be educated, and then we need to see how the majority of the public is feeling.
Well, we
I
need
agree.
to feel out our pros and cons.
We do.
We need to have a balance of pros and cons, like to hear them, make a logical decision. I mean, there's also a revenue avenue here involved, so. Again, I mean, we're talking with the taxation part of it. We need to hear it all probably,
Yeah.
so.
cause there's good benefit to the county as well as property
Absolutely.
owners. Yep, Yep.
So,
yep, and so
Yeah,
that's
just-
where our ordinance needs to go. It's not just making an ordinance that models somebody else's, it's making an ordinance that
That fits us.
Works.
fits us.
I guess, yeah, to do that though, I'd like to see. What some other ordinances have in there, and maybe then we can be like, you know. Okay, pro, this is good, con, this is bad for us, you know,
Right,
and what
I
our,
would like to have an ordinance somewhat set in place before we proceed with. You know, I would say a lot of these changes to ordinances are because they threw something together and then
right,
missed out or lost or were taken advantage of in some way and they had to go back after the fact and redo it.
right.
I would like us to, right now, we don't have anything,
right,
so.
right. But at least we're still about a year out or better from when they're looking to start doing anything.
I'm gonna say
So-
that's coming quicker than you think, when
I
we
know.
start putting things together, yeah.
I
So,
know. Yeah. and
so
there
is,
isn't even 100. They don't even know if it's gonna go there.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. So, again, we just need to obtain more information.
But still have it in place.
So if you
even
can
it
get with
doesn't-
Luann and get his calendar as far as when he's available or they are available and we're available, we'll get together.
Okay.
Discuss, and we need to start somewhere.
Okay.
Start a folder or something.
Sure,
Is your meeting from last night, is that recorded?
it is, it's being, did you already download it?
It's in process.
Thank you. It's long,
I noticed.
yeah,
Oh.
it's a 2-hour meeting, over, It was 8
I
cases,
need to
which,
get like snacks and drinks, so
Just
sit by
about.
my chair.
They didn't offer any.
You gotta shower people.
and
yeah.
Might fall asleep though. Yeah, well, I
Take that-
appreciate that,
take
and
that
I appreciate the
popcorn home with you.
update, and, yeah,
But
I just keep
I
moving forward, so.
covered everything I think we needed to cover, and we will get the adjudicated, the finals on what happened at the Board of Adjustment, and that was just a courtesy for you guys.
Yep.
Because you don't have any decisions you'd have to make on those.
No,
It's just
but I mean,
so you know.
we like to be, know what's going on, I guess,
Sure.
that's.
And so do you guys, even though you don't have anything that you have to worry about technically with the Board of Adjustment, do you guys still want to see?
What's
the
on your
packets?
agenda?
Just the agenda?
I think so.
Okay, because actually.
Or,
our
you know,
packet-
what the discussion is about, somewhat a brief explanation, because. You know, I was gonna jump in last night and I was on the road and I thought, well, I was gonna use my phone to jump in, of course I forgot, but yeah.
Okay. Because the packet was actually 118 pages.
I don't want that,
Okay, so just the short,
the agenda version
agenda
or
version.
a short
Okay.
explanation, yeah.
okay,
But yeah, I mean, it's nice to know, cause if somebody's calling us then and griping.
yeah, sure.
then
And
we
that's, yeah, and almost you have to punt it, just, yeah. I mean, it's like, this is what I know about it, but you
Right.
guys don't have any skin in it,
Right,
thankfully. One
So
less
see
thing you
if
guys
you
have to
can come
worry
up with a
about.
date, let's
We'll do that.
work for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Marty? Are you available?
I am. Morning.
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 No sleet, no hail, no rain.
No
What a
snow.
day. Okay, things we've been working on and. The treasurer's office, got a call from Beth. Wanted me to come up. She's thinking about changing their front counter right here. Make it wider. So that the window can be back further towards him and so they can hear, maybe eliminate the window. Cause the patrons will be further away from her. It's a plan. I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, we've talked about it for many years, I guess, and one of the issues when we put cameras in the hallway was that you couldn't see the patrons because they're tucked in. Behind the wall, so we put a camera in the back of the room, so it's been an issue somewhat for a while. So I mean, we've talked about it and. On your thoughts or her thoughts, or is there a plan in place or what's?
She's got a drawing and a quote for it being replaced. She still has to look for somebody. She wants it done in one day. Out and in one day, so she's probably gonna have to hire somebody to put it in. Because it's gonna be quite a job to take the other one out. To put this one in because the heat lines go down through, the water lines for the heater go down through this counter top and. He may have to take some of the door apart, I'm not for sure, cause I. Wasn't involved in putting up the roll door and I don't know quite how it's fastened there. So there may be, an added bill there,
And the roll-up door is intending to stay, is that correct?
yes, what she said. Other things, I helped Lisa out, the binder machine malfunctioned, so I took it apart, put it back together. In the recorder's office, their keys. You had to sit there and jiggle them to get them to work, so we changed the cylinders in it. And made new keys, so they all work properly. I made 2 extra, give them to Mary in the auditor's office, she's the keeper of the keys, and then I think I had a master key made also that will open all of the doors like this and that door. The clerk's office, I got a email from Tim that they okayed the bill to put the dedicated circuit in the back office there so they can move that box from the old magistrate's office over to there. It'll come out of the office that we're currently remodeling. So that will help. The water hydrant over here, I was was told to check on it, see if we can remove it. If you want it removed, we have to tear up the street, cause it's gotta be plugged at the main, capped at the main. And the plumber says needs to locate, so he knows where it goes into the main. So I didn't do that because there's a fee for that, and I wanted to make sure that's what you folks wanted to do, if you wanna do it, or if we just wanna put some barricades around it so that it doesn't get hit again.
So when Fly Street was tore up, we could have done this or something, that thing should have been addressed at that point, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, as far as I know, it
Does it connect to Second Street or Platt Street?
Second Street,
Yeah.
it has
They didn't
nothing
tear
to
that
do
one
with,
down.
yeah.
Okay,
It's just
so-
something else I wanna throw in there. I was out to Gassers one day and a couple of the flower people, whether master gardeners were there. And apparently they must have heard about that and they would like that to stay there. So, cause they use that when they plant all the flowers there, whether they're gonna do that now or not, I don't know, but they said it. But I don't know, we could grind it off or whatever, but,
Well, I mean,
How
if
did they
they-
use it?
If they've been
Um,
using, that looks like it's been on there for a while,
I'm
not
just,
being
I'm
used.
just telling you
So
what
if
they
you go
told
over there
me.
and lift the handle, water's gonna come out?
I would think so.
I don't want that unlocked, and actually, if it's never going to be used in any manner or facet, I would like it removed just because, I mean, if you can go over and throw the lever, I mean, what's to stop somebody from just coming by, flipping the lever and walking off?
None,
Well, that's why it's chained.
right.
No, that
But in order to do that, you have to cut Second Street. Cause it's 5 feet in, according to the water department, it's at least 5 feet into the concrete into the road.
So there's not such a thing as capping it and turn it a valve, like a half control valve and put a padlock to it or something to that.
According to, I can never think of the water department guy,
Yeah,
Jeff Bodenhofer. If you take that out of there, it's gotta be capped at the main. And they will not shut the main off, so you have to dig down, freeze it, and cap it, according to the plumber.
So maybe we should investigate a different type of hydrant or shut off there or something, what might be available.
I don't know. I think anything you do there, you're gonna have to cut into the street because there's no valve to cut it off.
you can't replace the hydrant, you can't cut the pipe shorter, because if you do, it's gonna spray water.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's
you
no-
wouldn't, there, all right,
There's no
I don't know if
shut
you're
off.
aware of it, there's a manhole 10 feet to the south of the hydrant. And go down there, and why they didn't put a valve down in there to turn that on and off, I don't know, but all what's down in that hole is the meter. So, they should have put a valve in there that we could have just done, and then we'd be fine. I talked to the plumber, I said, well, we
So
can
if
just
the
bend
meter
that
would
back.
go bad, how would they change it?
What? You'd have to dig the road up, freeze it, and put a valve in it probably. Excuse me, and that way, because there's no valve in it. Me and Jeff looked, and then the plumber come by, who I contacted to see if we could do this. He says there's no valve down that hole, all that's down in there is a meter. That's all I can tell you. And then there's a fee to have it located, which the plumber wants it located, so he knows where to dig. And then he says, that then it may not be right,
Okay, well, we'll talk about that a little bit, yeah.
okay? Okay, the sheriff's office, I got a request to make a lumber list. They wanna put a room inside the storage shed. One of them wants a deck on the top, and the other one just wants a roof on it, so I made a lumber list both ways.
I don't know if we need to do anything to that shed until we get the jail done.
That's
Because right now, the primary purpose of that shed, if I'm not mistaken, is to store stuff for the jail. So I think we can hold off on that. That's just my opinion, but I think we can hold off until we're done.
Well, I think that was kind of the opinion of a couple other people, but he made a request, so I did it. That whether you go, I think he's gonna apply for a grant is why he's doing this, you know.
What's the purpose of the room? Is it an office? Is that our office?
Well, it's a
area?
training room, I guess, is what
Don't they have one in the gym?
I can tell you that.
We have a
Just
EOC center, which should be a training room. I would think.
with talking with the construction manager, the first one we had. He found it unnecessary, but I just, the chief deputy asked me if I could do that and I did it for him, you know.
So I think I've also heard that,
No. Well, I do, but I give it to you.
so I think I've also heard that lofts are not recommended.
Right, because you gotta put a railing around it, somebody falls off of it, you know. It's very expensive, you know. I can't remember what the price was, $6,000-7,000, I do believe. Okay. Also, I fixed the door handle on a little cabinet over there. There's a push button lock between the office and where the jailers is, about once or twice a year, we have to have that replaced.
Is that loose handle that I saw the work order coming? Is there like a limitation to what you do, really? Cause some of the stuff, like there's a loose handle on a cabinet,
Yeah. I fix it.
they don't have screwdrivers?
They don't do nothing maintenance wise over there. Then if they do, they tear it apart and then they can't fix it, then I get the call, then I gotta go figure out how to fix it, cause it's all tore apart. It was just all I did was drill a couple holes all the way through, got a couple bolts, didn't take long.
Okay.
I guess any maintenance that anybody wants in this building, if I would think we can do it, we do it, you know. I don't mess with the heater or the boiler or the air conditioner, because I don't feel I'm qualified to do that. The lock, like I said, a couple times a year, at least once a year, we gotta fix this lock, because it does get massive use, you know, because everybody goes back there, uses it. I can't fix it because I don't have the tools to get it apart. So I gotta call the locksmith to come up here, and she's supposed to be up here like Wednesday or Thursday of this week to take care of it. I got a request from secondary roads. They got a door between the mechanics bay and the storage room. It's a metal door. It's an 1 3/8 door. And finding out you can't buy an 1 3/8 door anymore, so now we gotta get the door frame and all, and I got him a quote on that. Mike said order it, so I ordered it, and when it gets here, if I can, I'd like to go down and put it in for him, because they do help me out a lot with tools and manpower and stuff. I'm taking 3 or 4 hours, but hopefully it'll be done. Okay. I got a request from Jeremy, the new construction manager. Apparently, when they were moving some of the trusses or roof trusses and the sheeting, they had a telehandler and they drove in the neighbor's lawn and they look like they're about this deep, that wide, all over his lawn to line up a lawn roller, so when they're done, that we can roll the lawn, because the guy that mows it may have been upset a little bit about it. So I got that done, but in the meantime, I found out we got Packers or something maybe, and they said we might be able to do with that instead of the lawn roller. We're gonna try it. And again, I asked secondary roads to help us out, and they're gonna furnish us a guy, a tractor, and if we do it with a lawn roller or the Packer, they'll help us out there.
Depending on how heavy. Are they talking about the trailers that we just bought?
Yeah,
It might be a little,
well, they might be,
it
but
might be a little.
they said they'd give it a try, you know. But I have access to a roller that a gentleman said we could use to do it. Well, if that don't work, we can roll with a, you know, big roller. You know,
Well, it depends, the city has one depending if,
Yeah.
you get along with Frank.
Yeah.
or what you do.
yeah, I got one lined up, so
Okay.
either way. The welcome center sign, I tore it apart, threw it on the burn pile up there, and I don't know if the burn ban's lifted or not. It is, so we'll probably go up there sometime here in a little bit when it dries out. burn that whole pile of brush and everything that's in there.
We talked about our fence line up there a little bit too. Last year you talked about that.
Well, I think the landowner or the renter did that.
Good.
Yes, and he did.
Don't
it
forget to call
very-
the county.
I think
What's
part of
that?
Don't forget to call the county, the dispatch. So-
Yeah, I always do. Yeah, out at the farm, I cut about 1,000 evergreen trees down, and every time I light it on fire, I call. Yeah, he did a real nice job, didn't tear the fence apart or anything, and I mean, he did what I'm gonna call the south field, he still gotta do the north field, but he did a really, really nice
He's been
job.
really good about.
Yes, he,
operating up there.
out where I live, he rents that farm, he did that too, around that farm, so. He's good at it. I have one quote back for the county attorney's window project. I had two more contractors look at it and they both said they'd give me a quote, but I haven't received it yet. So when I get all three of them, then I'll come back to you on that.
Okay, so let's try to keep moving with it, so we hear something from them, if they're gonna give you one, let's get one, and if they ain't, then say.
Well, this is what I know is he's called and asked the one guy got it, the second guy, Schuler has called me several times. He's gonna put one in, but it takes a while to get a price on all that stuff.
Okay.
And we did find out the little window is the same price as a 4-foot window. There's no difference. So they are quoting it as a 4x4.
As long as our structurally wall is intact.
Yeah, well, that's all part of it. Yes, because I told them it's a bearing wall. They're all aware of it. So that should be in there. And just a little thing, the flag down to senior citizen was tattered. I got asked to replace it, so I did. Usually we don't do that. They do that, but it was in bad shape, so I took care of it and did I give that to you? I give the old one to her. So, that's my list.
I know there's been talk about possibly new locks on the senior center. That's been asked. We've been trying to. When I talked to Sally, she said you have a list of the keys that they got.
Mary has. I don't keep the keys.
Okay.
Mary in the auditor's office is the keeper of the
That's why I
keys.
said we know the key, who has key 1. We do not know key 2 through 8.
Right.
We know where 9, 10 are at, and 11, 12, and 13 are in our office. So we handed them the keys. We do not know who has the keys.
I think maybe we should get together with the senior board. And kind of, because they were like, oh, this person, we don't know who's got, where's your key? Well, my key came from this person. My key came. I think we just maybe, whoever the key master is here, get together with them and sit down and talk and try to hash it out because it still looks like we're missing keys 2 through 8.
When was the last time we rekeyed that, Marty, you know?
Many years ago.
No, it wasn't.
Just
I'm gonna
before
say within the last 5, I'd say.
Can you estimate some kind of cost?
No, I don't wanna, it's expensive, it's. When Jim Manderscheid was around, it was cheap, but now that he's not around, it's quadrupled in price.
Well, if that lady's
Was
coming up to
Meserly do
work
some
on
of
that
that?
other thing,
Yeah,
could you see
What's
what a
that?
quote?
what'd you say? I thought you said something to me. Yes, I will have her do that.
I didn't catch it.
I said if that he's having a locksmith come up to work on the lock over there,
Yeah.
maybe then you wouldn't have another trip charge involved if
That'd be-
it would be a reasonable
So,
amount.
when
I
we-
mean, what amount do we wanna say is reasonable?
So when we key it, do we key all the doors the same, or do we have to do that, or do we have an access door and unlock them from the
Right now,
inside?
I can't answer that because I have a master, so it fits all 3 doors down there. So I don't know that.
I would assume that all 3 doors are
Doors are
keyed the
the
same
same.
because we only have 1 set of keys.
I mean, is that necessary? Can they use one main door and then unlock them from the inside, or they need 2 accesses legally to?
I think, in my opinion, after looking at the potential lease that they presented, I think that you need to look at the lease before you pick keys.
Well, I know, like, they have the adult, I don't want babysitting or what, they use the west door or the east door. And then the people that pick up food use the east door or the west door, I'll get it straight here. And then the public uses the front door. So there's 3 different identities going into each door, you know, so far, the way I configure it. Yeah. So I don't know. What I will do, if you want, when Connie comes up here to do that door, I will run her down there and get a estimated price, and then we can go from there. Okay,
And I think going
Well-
forward, I don't know if we should issue a block of keys. Like that, say, here's key 2 through 6. Because if it's the senior board, there's turnover. NEI 3A, there's turnover and all that, and then we'll have it here, I'm gonna get it, we just don't know, I think everybody, if they're gonna get a key, they need to come and. So we can
put a number on it and.
put a number on, so we know
With
they
a-
have to
and a
come.
name with the number.
Right,
That's what you do for all of us, isn't it?
What's a comparative expense to like fob a door like that or a couple doors there?
But what's the difference if you have a key or a fob? They're still out and they're still
Well, a fob is read electronically, so you know when somebody's using it, and if I used it, or what time I went in, and who's doing it. But your fob is issued to you, if I turn a key, I don't know you went in the building, you left it open.
but if they're passing keys around, they pass a fob around, you can't guarantee.
But a fob you can cancel, can't you? If you don't get it back, where the key, you can't. If they take it and keep it, where the fob, you could, if I'm right, that'd be the only difference I could see. Cause if they, quit or something happens, we can cancel the fob.
It would be much more secure, but let's just see the difference, maybe if we can.
Okay,
We're not making any decisions, we're just looking at.
when she comes up here, Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday, I will have her do that.
Okay,
Cool. Anything else? Okay. I'd love to stay and chat, but you know how it is.
thanks, Marty.
Yep, have a great day. Yeah, I might need that. Usually I get far across the county.
Thanks for keeping track of them there, Tony.
How's everybody doing today?
Good, good morning.
So I had updated you just last month on what was going on at the office. Since then, the commission voted to promote Brianna. Go ahead.
It's just for those who don't, or anybody that's maybe watching, maybe you want to do some introductions.
Okay, Tony Shekels, Director of Veterans Affairs, and Brianna Kirk, the Administrative Assistant / CVSO / Confidential Secretary, so.
Thank you.
You bet. So as you all know, that I'm leaving or plan on leaving, the commission voted at their April 5th meeting to promote Brianna to the Administrator of Veterans Affairs. Starting June 1st. So I'll turn in my letter of resignation the end of this week to Becky. Brianna and I have both been working on the old her job description. We're gonna change that. Veterans Affairs will be taking over 20 hours a week of that position starting in July in that budget. We're gonna change it to a CVSO / confidential secretary position. And we've actually already received inquiries into the position. But I think this is gonna be a smooth transition. The things at the VA are moving very slow, just due to their extra workload since the PACT Act. We're not seeing decisions very, very fast at all. In the month of March, 377 Jackson County families received around $642,000 in compensation pension or DIC. That's about $95,000 more than last March. And we do have an application to be on the commission starting July 1st from a qualified female veteran.
Okay, so actually, Tony and Brianna, I've actually had a couple calls regarding the position or your position, I should
Okay.
say, and wondering if it's gonna be advertised or are they gonna fill within, and I didn't have an answer for that. I was told, do you need to be a veteran?
You do not. They
Okay.
changed that when I applied, that it did not have to be a veteran. That was a decision made before I came. And I think at that point, they were looking at, I think the old assistant, they were thinking about promoting her. Well, we had talked with, Becky about the position. The commission had met with Becky. Becky said, well, if it's a promotion, it doesn't have to be advertised. And the commission decided in April, on April 5th, that they would prefer to promote Brianna, who, she's been a great employee, 4-year degree, she's accredited. She does a nice job. The veterans seem to like her and work well with her. And they promoted her. I recommended it. They unanimously voted to promote her.
As a veteran, I have two questions.
Okay,
Full time?
yes.
I forgot the other.
The real important.
Important question. Brianna.
So your position then will be up for, which I've also had a couple of inquiries for, so that will
Yes.
go out to the public, correct?
That will go out to the public.
And how many hours are you working in that position now? You're split between,
I'm split between VA mental health and then general assistance. at
okay,
30 hours a week.
okay, so that will remain the same, your position will be split 25 and 5 or something to that effect, am I right? But that's what
That is correct.
is that working out?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and like this person asked me, is there, how come we're getting changeover all the time? I said, well, Tony, he decided to move on, that's all. I can't, I said, I
I
don't,
really think you're gonna have,
I don't interact with that office enough to know, I don't think there's any turmoil, of course, and that's what I expressed, and,
I really think you're gonna have a lot better continuity with Brianna in that position. Yeah, they promoted somebody young, who's from the area, doesn't plan on leaving the area. And, Debbie's gonna still be there as the assistant, and that's great. And whoever Brianna decides to hire into this position, with Lynn and Becky's influence also, I think you're gonna have much more continuity moving forward. Than always hiring some old guy like me who is always looking for something easier to do.
So it's
Now
not
we're getting to the
out
heart
for
of it.
posting yet, or?
Brianna just rewrote the job description. I just gave a little bit of advice. We were gonna have the commission approve it at our meeting at the beginning of May. And then approve posting the job, so we were hoping to post it after our commission meeting on May 5th, no, May 10th.
Cool.
And Becky's seen it, and we won't make any changes for sure until Becky's approved.
well, I mean, again, I appreciate you coming and giving us an update, I appreciate the job you're doing and what you're doing over there, I mean, and again, I've repeated to other people, we've gotten reports from you, and it looks like from the size of our county, we're doing really well with the, I should say, compensation that's coming in to our veterans.
And I think you're gonna continue to do really well. There's right around 100 claims out there that are open from Jackson County veterans that are waiting for decisions right now through the VA. You think that's a lot of claims, and even if we get 50% of them to go our way, your numbers are gonna continue to go up, and we stay at around 100 claims constantly. So,
Well, I'd like to think that some of that revenue that comes in for that stays in Jackson County, so
I would think so.
that's our plan.
All right. All right, any other questions?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck. If you need anything, Brianna, don't be afraid.
You gotta speak up a
Sounds
little
good.
bit.
Yeah,
She's very sensitive.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta find my agenda back here.
Nathan Jones.
Tony, Nathan, I'm sorry,
This
might be
might
really
talk to you, I don't.
Marianne, are you?
Yeah, they sent me over from the auditor's office. Sorry if I'm on the short notice, but we have a dilemma at the Cottonville Cemetery.
Come up and introduce yourself.
Come on up, Marianne, if you would. I don't know if there's too many people watching, but we'd like to know who you are and what, I guess you're here for the. As a neighbor or a landowner or Pioneer Cemetery or one of all the above.
It's not a Pioneer Cemetery.
So would you please introduce yourself?
Okay, Mary Ann Cundy, and I'm clerk of Richland Township. And we take care of the Cottonville Cemetery.
Mhm.
Right on to Bellevue Cascade Road.
Mhm.
And we have a dilemma with what I was told pocket gophers. First year for this, but they're digging up the whole cemetery. I don't know if pocket gophers and groundhogs are one of the same.
Or moles?
They're not moles.
Really?
These are piles and they're ruining the grass. And we don't even see a run. We just see piles all over. And we
And
were
Virgil
told by
don't
a-
have a remedy for that?
well, he checked the cat, yes, he mows the lawn. And he checked with the DNR, and the DNR said they have to be trapped. I looked on the internet, I thought maybe if we sprayed for grubs, that would take care of them. No, they don't eat grubs, they eat grass roots and tubers, and they even pop up out of the hole and eat some grass but we don't see a run. So we have to hire, I guess, somebody to trap these. Or it also said ammonia and bleach on the internet, but I'm not sure if you put that down the hole. Like I said, you can't see a run, you can just see a big pile of dirt.
They're not badgers. I mean,
I
they live a
haven't
big
seen
pile of
one,
it,
but
yeah.
oh my God.
So,
And they're- I've got even pictures. if
we
you
have the
wanna
benefit of
see.
the doubt right here now because Nathan just joined us and maybe
Nathan, you know
a
anything about
naturalist. Anybody on your staff might have, I know a gentleman
I'm the
that
one
can,
that sent them to the DNR because I didn't have an answer for them.
Yeah.
oh, they
I
called
don't know
you?
much
Yeah.
about them.
Well, they don't eat grubs, is what the
Oh.
internet says, so.
So-
Grub treatment.
Are you looking for us to find somebody? Are you looking for a
I'm
record?
looking for- I can't, for what we have budgeted for the cemetery,
Mhm.
which is $550 for mowing throughout the year. We don't have any money to pay anybody to do this, and I don't know how much it would even cost for somebody to come and trap them, but.
So
don't
I know a gentleman that can probably almost trap or catch anything. I might have a conversation,
Okay.
just maybe just a question and say where or how or, and I may. Who, I guess, Marianne, would you be the contact for this?
Yes, I
Okay.
guess so.
Or
yeah.
Gary, or,
No, me, I'm clerk of Richland Township. And the cemetery is taken care of by Richland Township trustees. The trustees are.
I mean, I know he's been good enough to mow that for a long time and,
Yeah, and he does a
very minimal.
wonderful job. He even trims around the tombstones. And he always has the flag when it's worn. He always asks for a new flag to put up, and Virgil does a wonderful job on it. Uses his own mower, uses his own gas. And we pay
no,
him
it's very
$550
minimal what
a
he
year.
charges there. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not paying for his gas, no. I have Gary's number, but I don't have yours. So
Oh,
at some
yeah.
point, I'll see where we're at. If somebody else got any ideas.
I don't know, but the field right
Able to
next to,
research on it.
Yeah, maybe if one of the naturalists or yeah, I don't know, DNR, would Andrew have anything?
I'm sure I could come up with somebody with some traps. I just don't know how you trap them. I'm not really
Yeah.
familiar
Let
with
me
it too much.
investigate a little bit too.
I don't know, but our field right next to it, but it's got anhydrous ammonia on it. There's none in there.
And they don't go in there.
So I don't know. Kind of a solution of ammonia and the dry.
Well, no, they could sure make a mess, so we would certainly agree that something needs to be done, yeah.
Yeah, Shelley has pictures over there that I sent her. I can't put them up on my phone the completeness of that cemetery.
I will be in touch. Marion.
Okay, okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave my number with your secretary.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you so much.
If you
Be
want
on short
to,
notice.
Oh, yeah, they do tunnel, but they're a foot below ground. So you don't see that like you do
the runs. All right, Nathan, I guess you're on board.
All right.
It appears that you shaved.
Yeah, kick season.
Oh, I see. And that's a good reason.
Um,
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
go ahead.
How's the wall?
It's underwater, you can't see it, that's good.
That's figured what I, pretty much the update I had for you guys is, what's gonna be reaching third highest ever is what they're kind of projecting right now, so. Water started entering the shower building at Spruce yesterday morning.
I've seen that.
Hopefully we pulled all electric guts out of all the electric boxes and. Water heater out of the shower building and all that stuff's in preparation for this flood, so hopefully. Once it goes back down, we just have to put things back together. Be ready to go.
So you remember the last time also we did this and we had a lot of cleanup at Spruce Creek and we had a lot of cleanup at South Lake and we did get some compensation. And the governor has
FEMA.
proclaimed a
Yep.
disaster or whatever you wanna call it, so. Again, I would recommend that you keep your time separate from
Yeah.
anything that's.
We just track everything when we write it down. So we're gonna see, I guess we'll see if we get declared anything out of this flooding for money to come back on
Well,
it.
we're in one of the 10 counties she declared, so
Okay, so.
yesterday she
the.
declared it.
Okay, so you're ahead of me. I didn't. know
From
if
Jackson
I-
County South is all
Okay,
part of the disaster zone.
yep, so we're going to keep our track of our time
Yep.
here, so we'll see. So far, I've kind of got a good feeling about not gonna be too much cleanup, because it's really clean water flood so far, not a lot of debris, but.
Well, I seen a tree come down yesterday that was
Yeah,
full.
he could probably say they probably watch them on their dock video come by, but.
Do they come through the doors or do they just get stuck in the doors?
Yeah, but so far, at least the water's clean, that's a good thing, that's gonna help. Clean up until the maple leaves and everything. So that's kind of been some of our time here the last few weeks, the last board meeting, we met out at Selzer Pond. To discuss some of that, didn't get a lot of discussion, cause I didn't give really good directions on how to get there, so there's some. Board members didn't find it. But, we're still waiting on the attorneys to get that finalized on the donation there. Then we'll work with Lisa and getting all the insurance and everything set up on that. That is supposedly moving in direction of coming towards the county in the near future. So that was kind of one of the discussions at the last board meeting. And then we kind of just had some general park discussion. Larry brought up a dock at Joinerville that hasn't been put in for a few years. That was due to the last time we had FEMA money and they put rock. And their money was in front of where that dock lays. We can't, the current dock situation we have, we can't put the dock in there the way the rock lays out in front of that concrete wall. And then we have another issue with that, the water trails agreement we signed with the county, they do not want docks due to. The risk of rollovers of canoes and kayaks pulling up against docks, rolling in. People
I've
get
got a lot of complaints about that document being.
Yeah, well, I guess. I don't know what the answer is.
People that have difficulty getting in and out of their boat.
Yeah, my answer to people is there's also, when the river's not high, we have other spots but the Macokota is just not, other than that, that's the only spot we have that's deep enough for boats or boat traffic. So I don't know what the answer is there, but Larry did bring that up and I don't know. We can get the FEMA money or FEMA to let us remove the rock that's out in front of that. The ultimate goal of that site is, in the water trails plan, is to pull that bank back and step it so people can pull a boat in horizontal to the bank. And not have to worry about a dock that when the river comes up and down. We have to go there every day or two to move a dock up and down or pull it out when the river's flooding. I realize people would like to utilize it, I just don't have the answer with what we have going on there, but that was kind of brought up, and I don't think our board really gave an answer other than look into it.
Other than, yeah.
So, it's gonna cost money if we go back to getting a dock into that. Another thing that was brought up in the meeting is the Prairie Creek Pond keeps having fish kills. And we're 95% sure we know that it's probably runoff coming from the city yard. Bringing in a lot of nutrients, everybody mows their grass clippings, they fertilize their yards, they dump it there. It rains, that water runs right through that, right into that pond there at Prairie Creek. Aeration is a option. Most fishery biologists don't recommend it when those shut off. Fish kills automatically because oxygen levels crash. So if we have something like electrical outage or.
They basically get used to the higher oxygen
Yeah.
or that.
Yeah, and all the plants in the system are using it and everything else, and it shuts off, it crashes, the whole system crash in a pond, so. They're not, I mean, they can work in certain situations, that's not the highest.
Where are you getting the runoff from? Up by Dak somewhere or up by?
Where's the lawn,
Behind bores.
where you can take your lawn
Yeah.
clippings and dump them?
So it runs all the way down to the pond?
Yeah.
Yep.
Straight down.
It's not very far from
It
it.
ain't very
It's a
far.
Straight
Oh,
through
okay.
drainage in. So there's not a lot of options. I mean, I think maybe the first option is try to enhance the little silt pond above the pond, to catch some of
Is
it.
a way to kind of affect the drainage to slow
So
it down.
a retention below the clipping somehow or no?
Yeah, it's some kind of retention pond above it to try to slow that nutrient flow into the system. And maybe some aquatic plants within the system.
Yeah, that's a
might
dirty
take
shame.
it
I
up.
mean, if you got a pond like Prairie Creek, you got that pond like that or
Yeah.
such a small lake or whatever you wanna call it, but
People utilize it in fishing right next
Yeah.
to town, so that is something that needs to be looked into. That was. Big part of the discussion last meeting. How do we get this back into a usable system if we can?
So there's no fish in it.
There is some, it wasn't a total fish kill off the last time, but I was also told by a fisheries biologist that the state is not putting any more money back into it. Into that system, they're not willing to stock it if they don't think it's,
Gonna maintain.
maintain it without us doing something. So that's something we're gonna have to look into as a staff or figure out how we can maybe at least try to get it prolonged, if it's 5 years between fish kills or 10 years, to get a few years.
so is the clipping area or that area, is that city? County?
It's been there for a long time.
Yeah,
If you're a city resident, you can take, well, that's where Larry cut up all that wood after.
Duration.
Duration. That wasn't the smartest thing to do right at that time, but later.
Oh. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I don't think the city has other options, it's on us more than anything for moving us.
It was there long before that.
Yeah, that's exactly right,
You know,
so.
so.
Well, yeah,
You
but
could
the
do- But I'm
point,
sure you could talk to the city about maybe coming up with a way to kind of make some, that drainage, that valley that comes down, if you do some. Kind of slow the water down so it has a better chance of
Yeah, I'm hoping we can maybe utilize some of this $1.2 million in money that's coming for water quality. For the stream.
have we talked to the city at all? I mean, whether.
I've talked to Josh a little bit
Yeah,
about it.
okay, because I mean, the thing is, whether the pond is there or not, we're
Yeah.
still talking clean water around the nation here.
Yeah,
If there's something coming off of this
yeah,
area that's contaminating even Prairie Creek itself,
yeah,
then something has to be done about
yeah. So I think the problem with our water quality money is they're calling our pond as the sediment reduction and nutrient reduction reservoir right now through the state. And I'm like, oh, that's not what we want it for. We want it to utilize it for public recreation. So we'd rather reduce the nutrients above. Okay, it could be a secondary reduction.
it. I think it's something we need to look at, all of us need to look at,
Yep, so that was one of the bigger discussion items last month. and then we put out an RFP for design for some displays at the center, just to see what the cost of that's gonna be. Our friends group has committed that they're gonna put 10 grand up front for some of that, project for grant writing. And then they're in a fundraise to the end to try to pay for this if we're gonna do some new displays within the Bristol Interpretive Center, so. I guess first step is to figure out what it's gonna cost to even do them. So that's where this RFP comes into play, to just see what it would cost to do something within the center. So that was an item that was brought up, and I don't know where it's gonna land, where the cost and funds are gonna come from, but we know the friends group, if they get their mind set to it, they raise money pretty darn quick and can put some money to that. And then we also, some of the things our friends group has committed money to, they've committed money to some work on our areas to do invasive species control. And then, Tony, our naturalist, is putting together a program that he's starting it, is mowing the monarchs. So you'll see the signs in Dubuque and stuff. He wants to try to build on that in Jackson County. The Friends Group's gonna fund some seed money for him to start getting some of that going around the community. And I don't know if it'll be just Macocata, Bellevue, Preston, or small communities, just to try to get people to quit mowing so much and put some native plants back in, help reduce nutrients and sediment and help our insects and wildlife in our area. So that was something the Friends Group is committed to, but that was kind of what our last meeting was update on what they've kind of got going on. Flooding, which you guys probably heard enough about, and then from there. So that's kind of what the last board meeting was. For you guys, we're not gonna do a Destination Iowa update meeting in May. Talked to Alex yesterday. We're still waiting to try to get the DOT permitting on the trail portion of the Destination Iowa project. We're hoping next week to get a finalized kind of plan together to submit on that. After talking with him, we'll try to get a joint meeting with WHAS on the engineering between the water quality and that project at some point, but we need to figure out what our cuts are gonna be. Is most likely if we do or what we submit to the state, hey, we need to do a change order on this, because we're not gonna afford this part of the project or not. Because as of right now, it looks like we're at least gonna be $100,000 short on what original funding was, so that's something we gotta figure out going forward. And I think our friends group would be willing to raise money towards that, and it's something to put forward. We didn't put it forward at our last friends meeting, because I don't know exactly where we're at. I don't wanna just get people talking on something and wanting to raise, and maybe we have enough if we do some changes. Engineers here looking at the current plans to see if they can cut some money on something, or if they have avenues that they think we can do a different way to get the project in line more with the funding we have available. So I think one thing is we're probably gonna rent a tree spade for our county skid loader and try to just transplant trees and bring some costs down that way. And do some of that stuff ourselves.
I did make a couple calls, didn't find one, but I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, I think I found one out by Iowa City, a company that rents it. Just don't know the availability. It sounds like it might be out a lot. So trying to get it. They supposedly only rent it to certain local communities, but I think we can get them to give it to us for a while. Otherwise, it sounds like the city of Bellevue might have one that was maybe have to pay for a little wiring plugs to change it from their system. They have a different skid loader or borrow theirs. But that's kind of where the Destination Iowa project is. Haven't had any meetings on the Lake Spiel project here lately. The Corps has removed the project lead on that and moved her to Minneapolis, so we're kind of in a limbo on who the new project lead from the Corps engineers is going to be. Hopefully they get something going, because I'd love to get that going.
I did talk to somebody from Sebula now, just so we're all talking the same when you come down in, there's the North Lake, the South Lake, and then the South Lake campground.
Yep.
Backwater area.
Yep,
They say there's a lot of vegetation taking over the North Lake that's starting to spill into the South Lake.
yep, there's
Is there anything they could do? Is that on purpose? Or is there something?
no, it's an invasive, it's called curly leaf pondweed,
Yeah.
it's taken over a lot of our waterways in North America. It grows throughout, starts in January, it grows under the ice, comes up and it dies back by July usually. But it crowds the lake out, that it's in the project as an option to try to look at, but it's hard to control, we don't know. About the only thing you can do to control it is dig deep enough the sunlight doesn't penetrate all the way to the bottom to get that plant growing. We don't know if we can get that lake deep enough due to if we hit sand pocket lens or something. We don't want to have that problem flooding communities. When we have a flood like this, the pressure would come back up underneath. So that was something that was talked about, and I don't know how they're gonna, Corps wants to proceed. On that North Lake is the biggest problem, but we'll get the least bang for our buck on doing stuff in that North Lake compared to the south, or that, I call it the middle lake of the
Yeah.
creek. But I think we're still in the planning, that at least something that'll get brought up at public. That stuff's growing right in front of our campground on the south lake now too, where I get plenty of complaints, but it's just not cost effective to go after it. Until they figure some new miracle remedy. I don't have we
What's it
can't,
called again?
it's called curly leaf pondweed.
Okay.
They can treat it, but it's expensive. And I just don't, a lot of. More urbanized areas across the country, they buy these expensive machines that float around, and they go out and run them once a week cutting the stuff. Keep it cut back, we're not gonna be doing that, we just can't, we can't keep ahead of something like that, so it's, how do we live with it or educate the citizens to feel, I mean, it's still, I guess on one thing, it's good for fish and wildlife and have vegetation, so just hope it doesn't get to a point that's too much where it dies off and we have fish kills when it all dies at once, but yeah, it's definitely an issue down there, so that's something. Hopefully, and I know it's in the project plans, I just don't know. Where this money is all gonna lead to and how much will go to what. So we'll have to get the citizens buyback in the county once we get something going there. I'm probably taking my 10 minutes up. Do you guys have any questions for me on anything? And then was at the last meeting, was there anything I missed?
Thank you very much.
So, I guess as we go forward, hopefully next meeting we'll have better news on flooding and campgrounds opening and. We did send letters out to all the dock owners. And they're just to let them know what's going on and some of that, so hopefully as we go forward, we'll know
So
more.
in a normal flood year, I mean, there's nothing that they get compensated for, or we.
That's a good question, I'd have to look back, I haven't had one since I've started
I'm
here,
just figuring.
I don't think they did.
Because of the work being done on the harbor. Well, they think they're due compensation back.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a headache coming forward, I know that.
How was the harbor wall progressing before the flood?
He was
I
moving,
stopped a couple of weeks and he had kind of made it around the
He-
bend back. Did he get as far as he needed to go on that?
he was done in
backside?
that direction, now he needed
And
to
he
start
was
going the
working
other
back toward
direction.
the dock, which
Um,
to me is where he maybe should have started.
Yeah, I don't really know why he started where he did.
And those I-beams, are those coming out?
Nope, those are gonna stay, those metal, cause there is. My understanding, they tried to drive beams of wood in there in the past and the ground rock is too close to the surface there to get them in deep enough. So,
Yeah, before 3 weeks ago, when I went down there last, it was done all the way around the campground side, and I thought, oh, he's making headway here.
he started making headway pretty good there right before, and then the water got too high, he couldn't see what
Well,
was
they don't
going
get
on.
bogged down in another project and don't come back
Yeah.
from the.
According to him, he doesn't have another project.
Great.
He's doing some little dozing here and there for some farmers right now, so, he's ready to come back when the river comes down, so.
Which doesn't look to be for 2-3 weeks.
I sat on a conference call, was it Friday, and they said, don't expect it under minor flood stage till the end of May, which minor flood stage first is still underwater all the way. So
You know,
I don't know what this,
I don't know what they're calling for rain. I just know this weekend for 4 days, basically the Mississippi River Basin
you know,
is getting it.
They're talking 2 to 4 for sure up that way,
yeah, you know, and you've seen it, Mike, a half-inch rain. I've always said some of my peas upstream when it gets this high, we're in trouble.
Don't put that in the paper, man.
Sorry, but a half-inch rain is, can be detrimental. So.
No, yeah, well, we can't do nothing about
But
that.
we
so.
don't know. Yeah, it is what it is, and we just go with the flow and hopefully.
Yeah, I went up to Dubuque over the weekend and if it gets up what they're talking about in Dubuque, I think it's gonna hit the yard arms, that deck out back.
Oh, really?
The bottom of it will at least get wet. So,
Well, this morning it's it's in the shelter or in the
yeah,
shower building. It's almost over the bridge at Spruce.
and they're
It's
going-
over the walking bridge.
It's forecast, what, 2 more feet?
Yep, so, we'll see, I guess. It's,
Now we
You
can do
control
about
it, yeah.
it, try to keep what we can, and again, I
Yep.
just recommend that you
uh,
keep your time separate from
keep
what.
our time and keep records of things that are damaged, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
I'm more worried about our roads and some of that stuff as
Right.
you get wave action and current going across them, that's when issues arise, so. But
We always have the road going into Green Island, of course, that gets washed out there.
yeah, they're sandbagging today. If you guys are bored after this, they expect that whole deck to go under on the south end of Green Island here in the next few days, so. That'll be,
I have other commitments.
yeah, I told them I'd come down tonight.
That'll boy. There's, nobody needs, high schools don't need community service.
They're using high schoolers as we speak. They had, I think Bellevue's coming at 10, so.
I heard something come over the radio that they're headed to Green Island every day this week in the morning, so. I don't know.
Oh, really? So I'm not sure what, we were supposed to have a bunch of elementary school kids out there for school a while this weekend.
Yeah, well,
we don't want that.
We don't need anybody drowning.
We got kids down there in kayaks, that might not be a good idea, so I don't know where the staff has figured that out, but. Yeah,
No.
I don't have anything else.
Appreciate it.
Pressing for you
Yeah.
guys, so. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. All right.
Yep.
Well, we're getting closer to the bottom here. Boards of commissions, and we did have a legislative meeting last Friday. And again, you probably read about what I read, and that was most of our discussion. As far as property tax reform, there's one's been passed through the Senate, and one's been passed through the House, but there's a long ways to go apparently, and we talked, the auditors had a meeting, and of course, they're concerned about the expenses and the regulations and the reporting and, mailing expenses. Gonna come into play here, so. We talked about the 3% cap increase, it's tough to regulate, different aspects of that, so. Emergency management seems to be at maybe a standstill too, they wasn't sure they were gonna get anything done there yet this week, so. They had a week left or so, or maybe a little more, but. I guess about everything we read in the legislative update, the 4, 5, 6 reports we get every Friday that are the same.
The auditor's list is still in there, but. With the property tax
Yeah.
stuff. or-
I voiced my concerns with the representative the other night.
Yeah, actually, we had good representation there. We had 4 of them. We had 2 representatives and 2 senators there on Friday night.
Heard from a lot of auditors concerning that. Time is of the essence. And again, I don't think we could do it in-house. I think we'd have to outsource it.
Again, funding for that is where?
Unfunded.
Yeah.
Unfunded.
Unfunded.
Another unfunded mandate handed down by the state.
So that's all I don't know if I had any other meetings.
I just had Limestone Bluff RC&D and everything's going good. They're working on a couple of grants and kind of tweaking on maybe being able to put doing grants for other people, but they wanna make sure this first one they're doing goes through, but everything else is going pretty good.
I went to Nathan's, as you heard, early childhood, they're basically trying to get some of their people to spend their funding that they were given. Their Ice Miles program isn't running like they thought it should take off and go, so they're really pushing them to.
Yeah,
And they're hitting a bad time of the school year because those are trying to get their field trips in and all that and don't really wanna commit to, this type of program coming in there this late in the school year, so.
well, the biggest thing I hear is a lot of these programs are to implement them and to sustain them is get the personnel to do it.
Right, right,
You know,
and that
I
was
mean-
their issue, it took, once they were awarded it, it took them a while to get the people hired. So, I got pushed back a few months that way, and then it finally got going, well, then it was slow to get all these scheduled to go and stuff like that, so we're kind of trying to really push them now to hit like the daycare centers versus the school systems. So hopefully they get kind of up and going that way. Together We Build is just kind of working on some fundraising yet. John and Jeremy were down there at their last meeting and again, stated they thought walls might be here in May.
I see plumbing being done down there
Yep,
too, yeah.
Yep, so they're working on that. They're working on, their water line system being connected. They got told and at the meeting anyhow, they were waiting from a letter from the fire marshal, basically. So they had to propose of putting in a hydrant outside the building. And they were pretty much told that they probably would never hook onto that hydrant. So I have that expense. Since there is a hydrant over on Platt Street that they would probably tap into, so. That will.
Isn't
help
there
some
spigots on the outside of the building too, or?
And. So that the hydrant thing, I guess, from my understanding, came from one of the designers recommended it. And so that could be some money that they could save that way. Cause why have it if nobody's ever gonna hook into it and it's not required to have quote from the fire marshal. And then. That was the week before, so, and then I have Iris tomorrow.
Motion adjourned.
Second thought.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried, meeting adjourned.